The billionaire CEO hid to test his girlfriend with the triplets, but discovered the housekeeper's secret. Before we start the story, leave a comment telling us which city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. The Westfield mansion was so quiet you could almost hear the sound of a lost dream. Sunday morning, golden sunlight coming through the 10-foot windows, impeccable garden, sparkling pool, and 3 5-year-old girls sitting on the couch as if they were waiting for a prison sentence. Ava, Lila, Sophie. Identical triplets, except for the soul. Ava always had a plan. She was the strategist, the one who thought 3 steps ahead before taking the first. Lila always had drama. She was the actress, the one who turned any moment into a primetime soap scene. Sophie always had an invention. She was the quiet engineer, the one who took toys apart to understand how they worked and put them back together better than before. But right now, all 3 had the exact same thing in their eyes: despair. No dolls, no toys, no music, no laughter, absolute silence. Silence that didn't match triplets. Silence that didn't match Sunday. The only sound in the room was Miranda Holloway obsessively clicking as she fixed her hair in the decorative mirror above the fireplace. Miranda had been their father's girlfriend for 4 months, blonde, thin, perfect, and absolutely allergic to anything involving children's fun. She wore a white dress that cost more than any employee's monthly salary, high heels at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, full makeup as if she were headed to a red carpet, and she looked at the triplets the way someone looks at stains on a sofa. "I want everything perfect when your father arrives," she said, without taking her eyes off her own reflection. "No mess, no running, no shouting. You'll stay here, very quiet, looking like 3 well-behaved little angels." Silence. "Did you understand?" All 3 nodded at the same time, but beneath that apparent obedience, something was forming. Ava looked at Lila. Lila looked at Sophie. Sophie looked at Ava. That look, the kind of look any experienced adult would recognize as, "You just declared war." But Miranda wasn't experienced. Miranda was only ambitious. And ambition without wisdom is an invitation to chaos. Patricia Blake woke up that morning with a strange feeling in her chest. It wasn't pain. It wasn't fear. It was urgency. As if something was wrong and she needed to fix it. Patty, as everyone called her, had been the housekeeper of the Westfield mansion for 8 months. Brown hair tied in a bun that never stayed in place. Brown eyes that seemed to see beyond what people showed. Hands calloused from work. A heart too big for her own good. She lived in the staff room at the back of the property, a small, simple space, but clean and organized. On the wall, a single photo, 2 teenage girls hugging, smiling at the camera. One of them was Patty, much younger. The other was a secret Patty kept in her chest like a treasure. That morning, she wasn't scheduled to work. It was her day off. But she had spent the night before doing something special. 3 large dolls with elaborate hairstyles, 1 for each triplet. She had learned to do hairstyles on dolls when she was a child, practicing with her best friend. Now, decades later, that skill had found a new purpose. Patty looked at the dolls, each with a different dress, pink, lavender, and blue, and smiled. "You're going to make 3 little people very happy today." She stood up, put on simple clothes, picked up the 3 dolls, and walked to the main house. She couldn't explain why she felt she needed to go. She just knew she had to. When Patty came through the back door and walked into the living room, what she saw made her stomach turn. The triplets on the couch. Still, quiet, eyes without sparkle. And Miranda in front of the mirror, fixing her hair for the 100th time, completely unaware that 3 children were dying of boredom less than 5 meters away. Patty knew that silence. She knew that emptiness in a child's eyes. She knew the feeling of being present but invisible. And more than anything, she knew the pain of watching someone who should care simply not caring. She took a deep breath, pressed the dolls against her chest, and murmured to herself, "All right, looks like the rebellion is starting early today." Patty walked into the room as if nothing were happening. "Good morning, Miss Holloway." Miranda didn't even turn. "Aren't you off today?" "I am. I just came to deliver something." "You can leave it in the kitchen." "Actually, it's for the girls." This time, Miranda turned. Her eyes narrowed with suspicion. Patty ignored the look and walked to the sofa. She knelt in front of the triplets and, with a smile that lit up her tired face, showed the 3 dolls. One for each of you. I did the hairstyles last night. This one. She pointed to the pink doll. Has a French braid. This one, the lilac one, has a ballerina bun. And this one, the blue one, has a ponytail with a bow. The effect was instant. Ava grabbed the pink doll, her eyes shining with internal calculations of possibilities. Lila hugged the lilac one as if she had just won an Oscar. Sophie held the blue one and immediately began studying the hairstyle, trying to understand how it had been done. The 3 looked at Patty with something Miranda had never managed to bring out in them. Genuine gratitude. "Thank you, Patty," Ava whispered. "We love you," Lila declared, dramatic as always. Sophie didn't say anything. She just stood up, walked to Patty, and hugged her. Miranda watched the scene with an expression that mixed irritation and something else. Envy, maybe, or fear. Fear that this simple woman, with worn clothes and calloused hands, had something she, with all her money and beauty, would never have: the love of those children. "What is this?" Miranda finally asked, her voice cold. "Dolls," Patty said, still kneeling. "Toys. Children usually like them." Her tone was polite, but the venom was there, hidden between the syllables. Miranda crossed her arms. "I asked for silence and order. I did not ask for stimulation." Patty stood up slowly. "I understand. Sorry for interfering. I'll leave you alone." She took 2 steps back, looked at the triplets, and winked. It was quick, discreet, almost invisible. But the 3 saw it, and all 3 understood. "I'm on your side." Miranda returned to the mirror, satisfied for having restored order. But the order was about to be destroyed. The first mischief came in less than 30 seconds. Ava, the strategist, scanned the room with the eyes of a general. She saw a box of toys left in the corner. She calculated the distance to Miranda's heel, and with professional precision, she slid her little shoe across the floor until it pushed the box into the exact path. Miranda stepped back. Her heel hit the box, and she almost went to the floor, arms spinning like windmills, a scream escaping her perfectly made-up mouth. "What?" She steadied herself at the last second and turned furious. "Who did that?" Silence. The triplets were exactly where they had been before, sitting. Quiet, holding the dolls, angel faces, and pointing at the television. Ava spoke first, her voice perfectly innocent. It was the TV. Miranda blinked. "What?" Lila continued with all the dramatic flair of a Broadway actress. "It gets upset when no one plays with it, then it pushes things." Sophie added, serious as a Supreme Court judge, "It's like a cry for help, except with objects." Patty in the corner of the room turned away and pretended to cough, but her shoulder was shaking. Miranda took a deep breath, trying to keep her composure. "Do you think I'm what? Foolish?" The triplets looked at each other, diplomatic silence, the kind of silence that says more than any answer. Miranda clenched her teeth. "You know what? It doesn't matter. Stay quiet. I'm going to fix my hair. Again." She went back to the mirror, and the triplets looked at each other again. Ava lifted a finger discreetly. 1-0. Lila smiled. Sophie was already planning the next move. The second mischief was a work of art. Lila stood from the sofa with the grace of a ballerina or a jewel thief in a Hollywood movie. She walked toward Miranda in silent steps, the doll still in her arms as the perfect alibi. Miranda was focused on her own reflection, adjusting a strand of hair that had dared to fall out of place. Lila approached from behind. She pulled from the pocket of her dress a pink plastic tiara, the kind that comes with little birthday party princess costumes. And with all the delicacy in the world, she placed the crooked tiara on Miranda's flawless hair. Miranda felt the weight. She touched her head. Her fingers found cheap plastic, and she screamed. "What is this on my hair?" She ripped off the tiara, looked at the object as if it were a poisonous spider, and turned toward the triplets. Lila was already back on the sofa, hugging the doll with the face of a saint. "I thought it matched you," she said, blinking her eyelashes. "It's a gift," Sophie added. "From princess to princess," Ava finished. Miranda was red. From anger, from humiliation, from something she couldn't name but that felt very much like loss of control. "This is unacceptable. You are going to be grounded until—" And then Sophie opened the little jar. No one saw where it came from. No one knew how she got it. But suddenly, in the hands of the smallest of the triplets, there was a small jar of golden glitter. Sophie looked at the jar, looked at Miranda, looked at her sisters. And she said, with the flattest voice in the universe, "Oops." The jar slipped, or was pushed. Or maybe it decided on its own that this was the perfect moment to explode. A bright cloud rose in the air. Golden particles flew in every direction. And Miranda Holloway, the flawless girlfriend of Billionaire CEO Leonard Westfield, ended up covered in glitter from head to toe. She looked like a Christmas decoration. A human disco ball. A walking Photoshop mistake. Her white designer dress was now gold. Her perfect hair now sparkled like a tree ornament. Her flawless makeup now had shining dots that would never fully come off. The triplets celebrated in silence, 3 closed fists raised discreetly like Olympic athletes on the podium. And Patty, in the corner of the room, whispered, "I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything. Keep going, little ninjas." Miranda was shaking, with anger, with humiliation, with glitter. "You are going to regret this," she shouted, her voice cracking. "When your father gets here, I will." And that was when a deep voice cut through the air. "When their father gets here?" "What?" Everyone froze. Patty turned slowly. Miranda turned slowly. The triplets turned slowly. And there, standing at the entrance of the hallway with a suitcase in his hand and his eyes locked on the scene, was Leonard Westfield. The CEO, the billionaire, the father. He wore a dark suit, even on a Sunday. Gray hair at his temples, blue eyes that seemed to see through people, a firm jaw, a presence that filled any room. He'd come back a day early from his business trip. Wanted to surprise them. But now, he was the one being surprised. The silence lasted an eternity, squeezed into 3 seconds. Miranda opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Glitter fell from her hair like golden snow, each particle shining under the sunlight coming through the windows. "Leonard, sweetheart," she began, her voice suddenly sweet. "What a wonderful surprise. I saw everything." 2 words. Simple, direct, devastating. Miranda grew pale under the glitter. "Everything. What?" Leonard didn't answer. He looked at his daughters, at the dolls in their arms, at the empty glitter jar on the floor, at the plastic tiara tossed in the corner, at Patty, standing in the corner trying to look invisible. And then he looked back at Miranda. "How long were you standing there?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Long enough." Patty wanted to disappear. She wanted to turn invisible. She wanted the floor to open and swallow her whole. She was just the cleaning lady. She shouldn't be there. She shouldn't have brought the dolls. She shouldn't have winked at the triplets. She shouldn't have done any of that. But before she could apologize, before she could explain, before she could even breathe, Ava, the strategist, stood up from the couch. She walked to her father and said, as naturally as anything, "Dad, this is Patty. She's our best friend. And she makes magical hairstyles." Lila joined her sister. "And she lets us be happy," Sophie added, her voice small but firm. "Miranda doesn't." Miranda's face turned even redder on top of the glitter that was gold. "Girls, you don't know what you're saying. I take care of you." You tell us to stay quiet," Ava interrupted. "You never play with us," Lila added. "You look at us like we're dirt," Sophie finished. Leonard Westfield, the man who ran an empire worth billions, who negotiated with presidents and kings, who never lost his composure in any situation, said nothing. He just watched, processing, understanding, maybe for the first time, what really happened in his own house when he wasn't there. Patty finally found her voice. "Mr. Westfield, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come today. I was off. I just wanted to drop off the dolls. I didn't mean to cause trouble. Patty." His voice was calm, controlled, impossible to read. "Yes, sir? Thank you." She blinked. Thank you? Thank you for making my daughters smile." Miranda let out a strangled sound. "Leonard, you cannot be serious. She is just the cleaning lady." Miranda, one word, one name, but the tone said everything. Miranda fell silent. Leonard looked at her for a long moment. Glitter kept falling from her hair and her dress, leaving a golden trail on the marble floor. "We'll talk later," he said finally. In private. It wasn't a request, it was a sentence. Miranda swallowed hard, turned on her heels and left the room, leaving a trail of glitter behind her. When she was gone, Leonard knelt in front of his daughters. "You 3, he said, his voice soft now, "are the bravest children I know." Ava smiled. "We learned from Patty," Lila nodded. "She told us we should never lower our heads to anyone," Sophie added, "even when the person is bigger than we are." Leonard looked at Patty. The housekeeper stood in the same spot, eyes filled with tears, not knowing what to do or say. "Yes, sir?" Tomorrow, my office, 9 in the morning, we need to talk. Her heart sank. That was it, she was being fired, she had gone too far. Yes, sir, she whispered. Leonard stood up, picked up the suitcase he had left on the floor, and walked toward the stairs. But before going up, he stopped, turned back one last time, and said something Patty would never forget. And Patty? Yes. It's not a bad conversation, it's a proposal. He went upstairs. The triplets ran to hug Patty, and she stayed there, in the middle of the room, covered in hugs and glitter, not understanding anything, but knowing, deep in her heart, that this Sunday had changed everything. And the glitter on the floor? It was just the beginning. Patty did not sleep. She spent the whole night staring at the ceiling in the staff room, replaying every second of that Sunday. The glitter. Miranda's scream, Leonard's expression, his words. It's not a bad conversation. It's a proposal. Proposal. What kind of proposal does a billionaire make to a housekeeper? Patty turned to the side, looking at the photo on the wall. 2 teenage girls smiling, she and Claire. A time when the world felt simpler. What do you think he wants? She whispered to the photo. Did he find out something? Does he know about you? The photo did not answer, but Patty's heart beat as if it already knew. At 7 in the morning, she was already up, shower done, hair tied in her usual bun, the one that never stayed fully in place. Clean clothes, but simple. Shaking hands. At 8:45, she walked to the main house. Every step felt heavy. When she passed the living room, she saw glitter on the floor. The cleaning staff had not managed to remove everything. They probably never would. Glitter was like that. Once it entered a place, it stayed forever. Like some people, Patty thought. She went up the stairs toward Leonard's office. And she didn't notice 3 pairs of eyes watching her from the hallway. Ava nudged Lila. Lila nudged Sophie. Sophie pointed at Patty going up the stairs. The 3 shared that look, the strategic look, the mission look. Operation Save Patty. Ava whispered. Phase 1? Lila asked. Phase 1. Sophie was already taking something out of her pajama pocket. A sheet of stickers. Hearts, stars, and one that said best person in the world in gold letters. The 3 smiled and started moving. Patty stopped in front of the office door. Took a breath once, twice, 3 times, raised her hand to knock. And the door opened before she touched the wood. Leonard Westfield was there, as if he knew exactly when she would arrive. Dark suit even at 9 on a Monday morning. Perfect hair. Blue eyes that seemed to see through anyone's soul. Patty. On time. Come in. She entered. The office was exactly what one would expect from a billionaire CEO. A mahogany desk. Shelves with books that looked more decorative than read. Huge windows facing the garden. Computer screens. And in the corner, something Patty did not expect, 6 smaller monitors, showing different angles of the house. Cameras. Her stomach dropped. Please, sit. Leonard pointed to a chair. Patty sat. Her legs were shaking so much she was grateful to be seated. Leonard did not sit behind the desk. Instead, he pulled a chair and sat in front of her. Close. Direct. No barriers. You seem nervous. I am nervous. Why? Patty let out a humorless laugh. You called me to your office after watching your daughters cover your girlfriend in glitter. After seeing me helping them. I will probably be fired, so yes, I'm nervous. Leonard watched her for a moment. You think you're going to be fired? I don't know what to think. Then let me make something clear. He stood up, went to the monitors, and pressed some buttons. The screens came to life. Patty saw images from the living room, the triplets' bedroom, the kitchen, the garden. These cameras were installed 3 months ago, Leonard said, his voice calm. I travel a lot. I need to know what happens in my house when I'm not here. Patty swallowed hard. And what did you see? Leonard pressed another button. The screen showed Miranda in the triplets' room. You are unbearable. 3 brats who only get in my way. If it were up to me, you would have been sent to a boarding school long ago. Patty felt her blood freeze. The scene changed. Miranda in the living room, on the phone. I'm almost there. A few more months and I'll convince him to send those children away. Then I'll finally have the life I deserve. Another scene. Miranda grabbing Lila's arm firmly. Stop crying. You are pathetic just like your sisters. Patty brought her hand to her mouth. My God. Leonard paused the video. 3 months of recordings. Miranda mistreating my daughters, manipulating, lying, planning to get rid of them. He turned to Patty. And do you know what else I saw in these 3 months? She shook her head. unable to speak. Leonard pressed another button. The screen changed again. Now it was Patty. Patty sitting on the girl's bedroom floor at 3 in the morning, holding Sophie after a nightmare. Patty in the kitchen, making heart-shaped pancakes on a Sunday morning. Patty teaching Ava how to tie her shoelaces. Patty brushing Lila's hair, making detailed braids while the girl talked non-stop about her favorite show. Patty hugging the three of them after Miranda yelled at them, whispering, "You are perfect. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Patty, late at night, in her own room, looking at a photo and saying, "I promised Claire, I will take care of them as if they were mine." The screen froze on that image. Patty was crying. She had not noticed when the tears began, but now they were running freely down her face. Leonard turned off the monitors and sat in front of her again. "Who is Claire?" The question hung in the air. Patty wiped her face with the back of her hand. I can explain. I am not asking for an explanation. I am asking who she is. Or was." Patty closed her eyes. "Claire was my best friend since childhood. We grew up together and promised we would always take care of each other." She opened her eyes and looked at Leonard. "And Claire was the biological mother of your daughters." The silence that followed was the longest of Patty's life. Leonard did not move. He did not blink. He did not even seem to breathe. Then slowly he asked, "You knew. All this time, you knew my daughters were your friend's daughters." It was not a question. It was a fact. "Yes. That is why you came to work here." "Yes. Why didn't you tell me?" Patty felt her chest tighten. "Because I was afraid. Afraid you would think I was some kind of crazy woman chasing after your daughters. Afraid you would send me away and I would never see them again. Afraid of losing the only thing I have left of Claire." She looked at her hands. "I did not come here for the money. I came because I promised Claire, on the day she died, that I would take care of her daughters. She had no one. Only me. And when I learned you had adopted the three of them, that you had given them a real home, I needed to be close. I needed to be sure they were all right." "And were they?" Patty looked at him. "They are. You are an amazing father. The girls love you. But they needed someone besides hired nannies. They needed someone who loved them for real, not out of duty or salary. And I—" She could not finish. Leonard stayed silent for a long moment. Then he said something Patty never expected. "Thank you." She blinked. "What?" "Thank you for loving my daughters. Thank you for protecting them when I was not here. Thank you for keeping the promise you made to your friend." He leaned forward. "And now I have a proposal." Patty held her breath. "I want you to be the official guardian of my daughters. Not a housekeeper, a guardian. With proper salary, a room in the main house, and full legal rights to make decisions for them when I am not here. Mr. Westfield, Leonard. Call me Leonard. Leonard, I have no training, no diploma. I am just a housekeeper who— You are the person my daughters love most in the world besides me. That is worth more than any diploma." Patty opened her mouth to answer. But before she could say anything, the office door burst open. Not literally, but that was how it seemed. 3 little hurricanes in pajamas ran inside, holding posters made of construction paper and crayons. "Stay, Patty," Ava said in red letters. "We love you," Lila said, surrounded by hearts. "If she leaves, we are leaving too," Sophie said, practical as always. The 3 of them threw themselves on Patty, hugging her tightly. "Don't let Dad send you away," Lila whined. "We heard everything," Ava said without shame. "The door has a little space under it." "You are our best friend," Sophie declared. Patty laughed and cried at the same time, hugging the 3 of them back. Leonard watched the scene with something that looked very much like emotion in his usually cold eyes. "Girls," he said, "I was not sending Patty away. I was asking her to stay. Forever." The triplets froze. They looked at their father. They looked at Patty. "Forever, forever?" Ava asked. "Forever, forever. Like family?" Lila whispered. Leonard looked at Patty. "That depends on her." Patty looked at the 3 girls in her arms, at the uneven posters, at their hopeful eyes. Then at Leonard, who was waiting for an answer. "Yes," she said, her voice trembling. "I accept." The triplets screamed with joy. That was when Ava turned Patty around and started laughing. "What is it?" Patty asked. "Nothing," Ava said, trying to look innocent. "It's just phase 1 of the operation worked." Patty looked at Leonard, confused. Leonard pointed to her back, a smile forming at the corner of his mouth. Patty twisted her body to see. On the back of her simple blouse, carefully placed with the best effort 5-year-old hands could manage, there were at least 15 stickers. Hearts, stars, and right in the center, in golden letters, "Best person in the world." Patty started laughing. The triplets laughed with her, and Leonard, for the first time in a long while, truly laughed. No one noticed the shadow in the hallway. Miranda Holloway was standing outside the office door, listening to everything. Her face went white, then red, then purple with anger. She saw Patty hugging the triplets. She saw Leonard smiling in a way he never smiled at her. She saw her place in that house collapsing right before her eyes. Miranda stepped back quietly. She went to the bedroom, picked up her phone, and dialed a number. "Laura, it's me. I need your help." Pause. "This housekeeper is destroying my life. I found out some things about her past, and I'm going to use every piece of information to ruin her." Another pause. "No, this time I am not going to lose." She hung up. And in the mirror's reflection, for the first time, Miranda's face showed no mask at all, only pure hatred. The next morning brought a new reality for Patty. She had a new position, a new role, a new life, and absolutely no idea how to deal with it. Patty was talking to the bathroom mirror. Again, official tutor. Official tutor. She repeated the words as if they were in another language. Is this real? Is this really happening? The mirror did not respond, but her reflection looked just as confused. Patty held the edge of the sink, staring at her own image. Hair falling out of the bun, as always. Dark circles from nights of poor sleep. Eyes still red from crying so much. "Claire, are you seeing this?" she whispered. "I did it. I'm in. Your girls are going to be okay." A knock on the door made her jump. "Patty?" It was Margaret, the housekeeper. "Mr. Westfield asked you to go to the new room, the one in the east wing." "New room? Your new room, dear. You are no longer staff. You are family." Patty opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I'll be right there." She heard Margaret's footsteps fade away and looked back at the mirror. "Room in the east wing, where the luxury guest rooms are." She let out a nervous laugh. "Claire, your crazy friend, is going to sleep on 1,000-thread sheets? If you were here, you would laugh so much at me." Her voice broke, because Claire was not there, and never would be again. The room was unbelievable, not unbelievably ugly, unbelievably beautiful. Patty walked in and froze in the doorway, unable to process what she was seeing. A king-size canopy bed, silk curtains, a rug softer than a cloud, a private bathroom with a bathtub, a closet, a balcony overlooking the garden. And on the bed, 3 gift boxes with huge bows. Patty walked closer slowly, as if the gifts might explode. She opened the first one, a silver picture frame with the photo she kept in her old little room, she and Claire as teenagers. She opened the second, a set of silk pajamas with the initials PB embroidered. She opened the third, a box of fine chocolates with a note, "Welcome to the family, LW." Patty sat on the edge of the bed holding the picture frame, and she cried. Not from sadness, from longing, from gratitude, from everything mixed together. "Oh, Claire," she whispered, running her finger over the photo. "Do you remember when we dreamed of living in a big house? You said you would be rich and take me with you. I laughed and said, you were out of your mind." She sniffed. "Look where I am now, in a mansion, with a princess bedroom, taking care of your daughters." Her voice trembled. "Except you're not here to see it." And that's the part that hurts. 15 years earlier, 2 teenage girls sitting on a curb in a suburban street, sharing a cheap ice cream because they only had money for one. Claire was 17. Blonde hair, dreamy eyes, a smile that lit up whole blocks. Patty was 16. Brown hair always messy, eyes suspicious of the world but soft whenever she was near her friend. "Patty, I'm gonna be someone." Claire licked the ice cream with conviction. "I'm gonna leave this neighborhood. I'll have a huge house, I'll have beautiful children, and I'll be happy." "And me?" "You're coming with me, of course. We promised." Patty smiled. "Promised what?" Claire held out her pinky. "Promised that we're going to take care of each other forever. No matter what happens, no matter where life takes us, we will always be there for each other." Patty hooked her pinky with hers. "I promise. Forever?" Forever. 10 years earlier. Claire showed up at Patty's door at 3 in the morning, 8 months pregnant, alone, crying. "He left me, Patty. He found out there were 3 and said he didn't sign up for that. He disappeared, changed his number. I have nowhere to go." Patty didn't say anything. She just opened the door and pulled her friend inside. She shared the tiny bed in the tiny apartment. She worked double to pay the bills. She held Claire's hand during the delivery, and held it again when, 3 days later, the doctors gave the news. The hemorrhage was very severe. Her body couldn't handle it. We did everything we could. Patty didn't remember screaming, but the neighbors later said they heard it on 3 floors. Still 10 years earlier. Hospital. Maternity ward. Claire was too pale, her eyes losing focus, but she was still holding Patty's hand tightly. "Promise," she whispered. "Claire, don't say that. You're going to be fine. You're gonna promise, Patty." Her voice was urgent, desperate. "Promise you will take care of them, that you will make sure they are happy, that they will be loved." "Claire, I won't make it, Patty. I know I won't. But you are strong. You are always the strong one between us." Tears ran down her face. "Promise me, please." Patty held her friend's hand with both of hers. "I promise." "Forever?" Claire smiled. It was the last smile. Present. Patty wiped her face and looked out the window of the new room. The mansion's garden shone under the afternoon sun. She could see the triplets playing down below, running between the trees, laughing about something only 5-year-olds understand. "I kept my promise, Claire," she whispered. "It took time, but I kept it." She stood there, watching the girls until something strange caught her attention. The 3 had stopped running. They were huddled behind a bush and staring straight at her window, with flashlights. At 3 in the afternoon. Patty frowned. "What on earth?" One of the flashlights blinked, then another, then the third. A pattern. Short, short, long, long, long. Patty tilted her head, trying to figure it out. "Is that Morse code?" Her eyes widened. "They learned Morse code?" She rushed to the suitcase she had brought from the old little room and searched until she found an old flashlight. She returned to the window and blinked back. Short, short, short. The triplets began jumping with joy down below. And then Lila lifted a sign written in crayon. "Look under the door." Patty turned around. There was something under the bedroom door. A folded paper. She walked over, crouched down, and picked it up. It was a drawing, done with colored pencils by 5-year-old hands. It showed a house. A big house with a garden. And in front of the house, 5 people holding hands. A tall man in a suit. A woman with brown hair in a messy bun, Patty. And 3 little girls in colorful dresses, the triplets. On top of the drawing, in crooked but careful letters, "Our family." And underneath, one more line, "We love you, Patty, forever. Ava, Lila, and Sophie." Patty held the drawing to her chest and cried again. But this time, they were good tears. Miranda Holloway was furious. Not furious in a shouting way, furious in a planning way. She had spent the last few hours locked in the bedroom, digging through the internet for any information about Patricia Blake. And she found some. Not much. But enough. An old local newspaper article. Woman dies after complications during the birth of triplets. Babies survive and are placed for adoption. The woman's name? Claire Davis. Miranda kept searching. She found public records, certificates, and then finally the missing piece, the triplets' birth certificate. Biological mother, Claire Elizabeth Davis. And there, at the very end of the document, something that made Miranda smile for the first time in days. Witness present at the birth, Patricia Ann Blake. "So that's it," Miranda murmured, her eyes shining. The cleaning woman knew the mother. She knew from the beginning who these children were, and she got into the house on purpose. She grabbed her phone, called Laura. "I found what I needed. This woman is a scammer. She planned all of this. And when Leonard finds out..." Pause. "What do you mean he already knows?" Another pause. Miranda's expression hardened. "Then I'll have to change the strategy. If Leonard doesn't care about her past, I'll make everyone else care." She hung up, opened Instagram, and started typing a message to an influencer known for exposing celebrity scandals. In the garden, the triplets went back to playing. But Ava suddenly stopped. "What is it?" Lila asked. Ava looked toward Miranda's bedroom window. She saw her silhouette, she saw the phone in her hand, and she felt something. That instinct children have. The instinct that tells them when something is wrong. "Nothing," she said, running again. "Let's play." But she kept the feeling, because Ava knew the war wasn't over. It was just beginning. That night, Patty picked up the new picture frame with Claire's photo. She placed it on the bedside table. And before going to sleep, she did what she had done every night for 10 years. "Good night, Claire. Your girls are fine. They're happy. They're loved." She looked out the window at the stars. "And I'm going to protect them, no matter what happens, no matter who tries to hurt them." She took a deep breath. "I promised forever," and turned off the light. 3 days had passed since Patty moved to the East Wing. 3 days of breakfast with the triplets. 3 days of quiet nights. 3 days where she almost believed peace had come to stay. Almost. On that Wednesday morning, Patty was fighting with the coffee machine. Again. "You're a machine," she whispered, pressing random buttons. "Your only job is to make coffee. Why do you have to be so complicated?" The coffee machine answered with an annoyed beep and a blinking red light. "Red light means what? That you're angry at me? That I did something wrong?" Patty tilted her head. "Is it the filter? The water? What is this thing here?" She pressed a button. The machine spit out steam. Patty jumped back, almost knocking over a stack of cups. All right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you." "Need help?" The voice came from behind her. Patty spun around so fast she hit her elbow on the counter. "Ow!" Margaret, the housekeeper, was standing in the doorway with an amused smile. "The coffee machine is not your enemy, dear. You say that because it likes you." Patty rubbed her elbow. "It hates me. All the machines in this house hate me. The intercom, the alarm, that huge TV with more buttons than an airplane panel." Margaret laughed and came closer. "You just press this button here." She pressed a single button, and wait, the coffee machine purred obediently and started making coffee. Patty looked at the machine with betrayed eyes. "You were testing me, weren't you? Admit it." Talking to the coffee machine again? Patty froze. That voice wasn't Margaret's, it was Miranda's. Miranda Holloway walked into the kitchen like someone entering conquered territory. Navy blue dress, perfect. High heels at 7 in the morning, hair smooth like she had just left the salon. A smile that didn't reach her eyes at all. "Excuse me, Margaret," she said, sweet as poison. "I need a private conversation with the tutor." The word tutor came out heavy with disdain. Margaret looked at Patty, worried. Patty gave a slight nod. "It's fine, Margaret. You can go." The housekeeper hesitated but left. And Patty was alone with Miranda. The silence lasted 5 seconds. They felt like 5 hours. Miranda walked closer, her heels clicking on the marble floor like a countdown. "So," she began, her voice smooth, "you won this round. Congratulations." Patty didn't answer. "Official tutor. Room in the East Wing. Treated like family." Miranda tilted her head. "Impressive for a cleaning lady. I didn't ask for any of that. Didn't you?" Miranda laughed. "Of course you did. You asked the moment you walked into this house knowing exactly who those children were." Patty felt her blood turn cold. "You think I didn't find out?" Miranda continued, coming even closer. "Claire Davis, your best friend, the triplets' biological mother, died in childbirth, and you, by some miracle, ended up as a cleaning lady in the house of the man who adopted her babies. I already told Leonard everything." "I know." Miranda's smile was sharp. "And that only proves how clever you are. You told him before he found out on his own. You controlled the story. You made him believe you're a saint fulfilling a sacred promise." Patty tightened her hands. "I didn't make him believe anything. I told the truth." "The truth?" Miranda took another step. Now she was less than a meter away from Patty. "The truth is that you're an opportunist. You saw a chance to get out of misery and grabbed it. You used children to slip into a billionaire's life, and now you're enjoying the results. You know nothing about me." "I know enough." Miranda leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "And I'll make sure everyone else knows too. When I'm done, you'll be thrown out of this house. Leonard will realize he was manipulated, and the triplets will forget you exist." Patty felt her eyes burn. But not from sadness, from anger. "You can try," she said, her voice trembling but steady. "You can spread whatever you want. You can make whatever scandal you want. But there's one thing you'll never accomplish." "What?" "Make those girls love you." Patty faced her. "Because love can't be bought, it can't be faked, it can't be forced. And you, Miranda, have no idea how to love anyone besides yourself." Miranda's face turned red, then white, then red again. "You'll regret saying that." "Maybe, but at least I said the truth." Miranda opened her mouth to answer, and that was when a wave of grape juice hit her navy blue dress. Everything happened in slow motion. The cup flew from somewhere on the right. The purple liquid spun in the air like modern art and landed right on Miranda's chest, running down the expensive dress, staining the fabric, ruining the perfection. Miranda screamed. Not a normal scream. A scream that was probably heard in 3 neighboring states. What in the? She looked to the right. 3 pairs of eyes stared at her from the kitchen doorway. Ava held an empty cup. Lila had her hands over her mouth, pretending to be shocked. Sophie watched with scientific interest as the stain spread across the fabric. Oops, Ava said with no remorse at all. Miranda shook. You did this on purpose. It was an accident, Lila said with the certainty of a Hollywood actress. The cup slipped. Slipped? Sophie confirmed. It was nervous. Nervous? The cup, Ava explained calmly. It does not like when mean people yell at Patty. Then it jumps. Miranda turned to Patty. You saw that? You saw what they did? Patty looked at the triplets, looked at Miranda, and said with all the honesty she could gather, I only saw a nervous cup. Miranda lost control. Completely. You impossible brats, she screamed, moving toward the triplets. I will teach you to respect me. Patty stepped in front of the girls. Do not raise your voice at them. Get out of my way. No, I said get out. Miranda pushed Patty, or tried to. Patty did not move, but the triplets did. Sophie ran to the corner of the kitchen. She pressed something on the wall. And suddenly, Miranda's voice echoed through the entire mansion, through the whole house sound system. You impossible brats, I will teach you to respect me. Miranda froze. What was that? Sophie showed the intercom panel. I pressed the general announcement button. By accident. By accident? The button was nervous too. Get out of my way, I said get out. The recording kept playing on a loop. In every room, on every floor, for all the staff to hear, for anyone in the house to hear. Miranda went white, then green, then a color that exists in no palette. Turn it off now. Sophie looked at the panel. I do not know how. You just turned it on. Yes, but pressing a button is easier than unpressing. Patty held back a smile. The triplets did not. And then they heard heavy footsteps coming from the hallway. Fast footsteps, the kind of footsteps from someone who had heard everything. Leonard Westfield appeared in the kitchen doorway. His face was a stone mask. Behind him, Margaret, the driver, 2 housemaids, and the gardener, all with shocked expressions. Miranda tried to compose herself, smoothed her stained dress, fixed her hair, forced a smile. Leonard, dear, this is a misunderstanding. The girls were. I heard 2 words, cold as ice. You heard the recording, but it was taken out of context. I was yelling at 5-year-old children. Leonard stepped into the kitchen, calling them brats, threatening them, pushing Patty. I did not push anyone. Dad, Ava said calmly. She did push her. We saw. I saw too, Lila confirmed. And I recorded it. Sophie showed a tablet no one had noticed in her hand. Miranda's eyes widened. You recorded it. Sophie shrugged. The tablet was curious. Leonard held out his hand. Sophie gave him the tablet. He pressed play. And everyone watched Miranda yelling, moving toward them, pushing, completely losing control. When the video ended, the silence was absolute. Leonard looked at Miranda. I think we need to talk. He turned toward the door. In my office. Now, it was not a request. It was a sentence. Miranda swallowed hard, looked at Patty with pure hatred, looked at the triplets with something close to fear, and followed Leonard out of the kitchen, leaving a trail of grape juice on the marble floor. When the footsteps faded, Patty knelt in front of the triplets. You 3 are impossible, she said. The girls looked at each other, worried. Are we in trouble? Lila asked. Patty pulled them into a hug. You are the most incredible children I have ever met. So we are not in trouble? Ava checked. No. Good, Sophie whispered happily. Patty pulled back and looked at them seriously. But you need to promise me one thing. What? Next time a cup gets nervous, warn me first, so I can step out of the line of fire. The triplets laughed. Patty laughed with them. And somewhere in the mansion, Miranda Holloway was discovering that her war had just begun to fall apart. Half an hour later, Miranda left Leonard's office. She walked through the living room without looking at anyone, went upstairs, and started packing her bags. But before closing the last suitcase, she picked up her phone and sent a message. He gave me 1 week to leave. 1 week. That's enough time. The charity dinner is in 5 days, and it will be the perfect stage to destroy this housekeeper. She looked out the window. She saw Patty in the garden with the triplets. She saw the girls laughing. She saw Patty making faces, playing, being loved, and she smiled. A cold smile. A smile of someone who still had cards to play. "Enjoy it while you can, Cinderella," she murmured, "because in 5 days, your fairy tale becomes a nightmare." The 5 days passed faster than Patty would have liked. Miranda still moved around the mansion like an elegant ghost, avoiding direct confrontations, but leaving her poison in looks and silences. Leonard had given her 1 week to leave. Only 2 days were left. And that morning, the charity brunch had arrived. Patty was having a serious conversation with the dress. "You're not going to betray me, right?" She held the light blue fabric as if it were a diplomatic agreement. "You're not going to rip, stain, or do anything embarrassing in front of rich people." The dress did not answer. But Patty did not trust it. She did not trust any clothing that cost more than $20, and that dress, a gift from Leonard for the charity brunch, probably cost more than her old 3-month salary. "Patricia Blake," she said to the mirror, trying to sound confident. "You are the official guardian. You belong in this house. You are not the housekeeper anymore." The woman in the mirror did not look convinced. "Okay, you still feel like the housekeeper, but no one needs to know that." She fixed her hair. "Just smile. Don't talk too much. Don't drop anything. Don't trip on anything. Don't." "Patty?" She jumped, turned around. Margaret was in the doorway, trying not to laugh. "Giving yourself instructions again?" I was practicing." "Practicing what?" "How not to embarrass myself in front of 30 millionaire influencers." Margaret walked into the room and adjusted Patty's dress collar. "You'll do fine. Just be yourself. That's the problem. Myself drops things, talks to herself, and argues with appliances. And that is exactly why the triplets love you," Patty sighed. "The triplets are not influencers with 2 million followers and shark eyes looking for drama to post." Margaret patted her shoulder. "True. Influencers are worse than triplets. Is that supposed to make me feel calmer?" "No, it's supposed to make you prepared." Patty looked at her reflection again. "Claire," she whispered softly, "if you have any influence up there, today would be a good time to use it." The Westfield mansion garden had turned into a magazine scene. Tables decorated with white flowers, linen tablecloths, crystal glasses, waiters walking around with trays of canapés Patty could not even pronounce. And at every table, perfect-looking women taking photos of everything: the food, the flowers, each other, and especially themselves. Patty stepped into the garden and immediately felt 30 pairs of eyes evaluating every inch of her. The dress, the hair, the shoes, the posture. Her soul, probably. She swallowed hard and looked for a safe corner. She did not find one. "Patricia." Miranda's voice cut through the air like a knife covered in honey. "I'm so glad you came." Miranda approached, glowing as if the last few days had never happened. Perfect white dress. New, obviously, since the other had met a golden ending. Perfect hair. A smile that could fool anyone who did not know the snake underneath. "Miranda," Patty greeted, cautious. Come." Miranda pulled her by the arm. "I want to introduce you to everyone." This was not good. This was not good at all. Miranda led Patty to the main table, where the most important influencers were sitting. "Girls, this Patricia Blake," Miranda smiled, "the guardian of Leonard's daughters." A blonde woman with inflated lips raised an eyebrow. "Guardian? I thought you said she was the housekeeper." Miranda's smile wavered for half a second. She was promoted recently. Such an inspiring story. The way she said inspiring made the meaning very clear. "And how does someone go from housekeeper to guardian?" Another influencer asked, her eyes shining with the possibility of drama. Miranda opened her mouth to answer, but Patty was faster. "By loving the children," she said simply. "It is the only requirement that matters." Silence at the table. Miranda forced a laugh. How sweet, but of course there is more to it. After all, Patricia has a very special connection with the family, a connection she hid for a long time. The influencers leaned in, sensing blood. "What kind of connection?" the blonde asked. Miranda prepared for the strike, and that was when a tray of petit fours came flying by. No one saw where it came from. No one understood the physics behind the movement, but suddenly, 12 petit fours, half chocolate, half strawberry, flew from a waiter's tray straight onto Miranda's white dress. The scream was epic. "Ah!" Miranda jumped from her chair. the dress covered in chocolate and strawberry, looking like an abstract art piece. The waiter was in shock. I don't know what happened. The tray just jumped. Jumped! That's what it looked like, ma'am. At the table beside them, 3 girls in identical dresses, pink, lavender, and blue, watched the scene with angelic faces. Ava calmly sipped apple juice. Lila sighed dramatically, pretending to feel sorry. Sophie studied the trajectory of the pastries as if it were a successful science experiment. Patty saw the slingshot elastic hidden under Sophie's napkin and understood everything. Miranda tried to regain her composure, but the influencers were already filming, some laughing, others narrating the moment in real time for their stories. "Everyone, you won't believe what just happened." "This was on purpose," Miranda shouted, pointing at the triplets. "They did this. Those little—" "Miranda," Leonard appeared out of nowhere, his voice calm but firm. "Maybe you should clean up before continuing." "I'm not going anywhere. This housekeeper and these children are destroying my life, and you—" She stopped, looked around, realized at least 10 phones were filming her, and that her expression at that moment was not the face of an elegant victim. It was the face of an unhinged woman. She took a deep breath. "Excuse me," and walked toward the house, leaving a trail of chocolate and strawberry behind her. 10 minutes later, Miranda returned. Dress changed, a backup she had left in the guest room. Composure restored, smile in place, but her eyes were pure ice. She approached Patty, who was talking to Margaret in the corner. "You thought this would bring me down?" Miranda whispered. "Petite fours on my dress? Please, I've survived worse." "I didn't do anything." "Of course you didn't. You let the children do the dirty work." Miranda leaned closer. "But now it's my turn." She walked away and headed to the small stage set up for speeches. She picked up the microphone. "May I have everyone's attention, please?" The garden fell silent. "First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here. This brunch is for an important cause, but it is also an opportunity to get to know the people in our lives better." She looked directly at Patty. "And today I want to share a story. A story about loyalty, about secrets, and about how some people will do anything to get what they want." Patty felt the ground disappear under her feet. Months ago, a woman got a job as a housekeeper in this home. What no one knew was that she had a hidden connection. She knew the biological mother of Leonard's daughters. They were close friends, and she slipped in here, step by step, until she earned everyone's trust. Murmurs spread through the crowd, phones lifted. "Now she is a tutor." Miranda made air quotes. "She lives in the East Wing, treated like family. And all of this because she manipulated a kind-hearted man into believing a sad story about promises and friendship." Miranda smiled. "I just think everyone deserves to know the truth about—" "The truth?" A child's voice interrupted. Everyone turned. Ava was standing on her chair, holding the sound system's microphone. No one knew how she got it. No one asked. "The truth," Ava continued, clear and steady, "is that Patty is the best person in the world. She takes care of us when no one is looking. She sings to us when we have nightmares. She braids our hair and tells stories about Mommy Claire." Lila stood beside her sister. "Miranda yells at us. She said she wanted to send us away. She called us brats." Sophie added, "We have video." Absolute silence. Miranda turned pale. This is ridiculous. They are children. They are lying." "We don't lie," Ava said. "We only play tricks. That's different." An influencer let out a laugh. Then another. Then half the garden. Miranda was losing control again. "Leonard," she turned, desperate. "Are you going to let your daughters humiliate me like this?" Leonard walked up to the stage, took the microphone from Miranda's hand, and said calmly, "My daughters are not humiliating you. They are telling the truth." He looked at the crowd. "Patty is the girls' tutor because I asked her, because I saw with my own eyes how she takes care of them, because she is the most genuine person who has ever walked into this house." He turned to Miranda. "And you, Miranda, are invited to leave. Not only the brunch, my life." The silence lasted 3 seconds. Then the cell phones exploded. Messages, stories, live videos, everything at once. Billionaire CEO defends humble caregiver and kicks out toxic girlfriend. 5-year-old triplets take down influencer at brunch. Epic moment. Kids with a microphone versus party villain. Miranda looked around. She saw the faces. She saw the phones. She saw her reputation falling apart in real time. And without saying a word, she walked out of the garden. Patty was in shock. Leonard walked up to her. Are you okay? I don't know. She looked at him. You said those things in front of everyone. I said the truth in front of everyone. But your reputation, the scandal, Leonard shrugged. My reputation will survive. And scandal? He looked at the triplets, who were now surrounded by delighted influencers. My daughters just became the internet's favorites. I think I'll survive. Patty let out a nervous laugh. They're impossible. They're perfect. He looked at her. Just like you. Patty felt her face warm. And on the other side of the garden, Ava, Lila, and Sophie exchanged a look. Mission accomplished. But the war wasn't over yet. Because Miranda Holloway, even defeated, still had one more card. And she was about to play it. Miranda left the day after the brunch. 2 Louis Vuitton suitcases. A hateful look. 0 goodbyes. Patty saw her leave from the window of the triplets' room, where she was helping put away the party dresses. Is she gone forever? Lila asked, peeking through the curtain. Looks like she is. Yay! Sophie whispered, celebrating. Girls, Patty knelt in front of them. You know you shouldn't have done what you did at the brunch, right? The slingshot, the microphone. The 3 made guilty faces. For about 2 seconds. But it worked, Ava argued. Working isn't the point. So what's the point? Lila tilted her head. Patty opened her mouth to explain about responsibility, consequences, and proper behavior. But she looked at those 3 pairs of eyes, Claire's eyes, and couldn't do it. The point is, she sighed, you need to warn me first, so I can film from a better angle. The triplets burst into laughter. And Patty laughed too, because laughing was better than crying, and she had already cried too much in the last few days. Later that night, Patty was in her room, having an important talk with her pillow. He said, I'm perfect. She hugged the pillow against her chest. Perfect. In front of 30 influencers. That has to mean something, or was he just being polite? The pillow, predictably, didn't answer. Of course he was just being polite. He's a billionaire. I'm me. She threw the pillow aside. Stop overreacting, Patricia. You're his daughter's caregiver. Only that. Caregiver. Employee. Nothing else. She stood up and walked to Claire's photo. Your friend is losing her mind, she told the photo. I'm imagining things. Thinking a look means something. Thinking perfect means something. It's probably just loneliness. It's been a long time since anyone called me anything nice. She leaned her forehead against the glass of the frame. What would you do, Claire? You were always better at these hard things. I only know how to mess up. A knock on the door made her jump. Patty? It was Ava's voice. We need you. It's urgent. Patty ran to the door and opened it. The triplets stood there in pajamas, looking panicked. What happened? Are you okay? Did someone get hurt? No, Lila said, dramatic as always. It's worse. Worse how? Sophie explained. We can't sleep. Patty blinked. That's the emergency. It's very urgent, Lila insisted. We tried everything. Counting sheep, squeezing our eyes shut, thinking of boring things. I thought about math, Sophie offered. It didn't work. We need you, Ava said, direct as always. We need a story about Mommy Claire. Patty's heart melted. Okay, let's go to your room. No, the 3 said at once. Patty frowned. No? Ava looked at her sisters. Lila nodded. Sophie pulled something from her pajama pocket, a map drawn with crayon. We prepared a special place, Ava explained, for the special story. The special place was the TV room. Or rather, what the TV room had turned into. Patty stopped at the doorway, speechless. The triplets had built a fort. Not just any fort. A fortress of sheets, pillows, blankets, and cushions that took up half the room. Christmas lights blinking inside, creating a magical glow. Lanterns placed just right. Stuffed animals guarding the entrance. You did all this by yourselves? Margaret helped with the top sheets, Sophie admitted. We can't reach. But we did the rest, Lila said proudly. Come in. Ava pulled Patty by the hand. Patty ducked down and stepped into the fort. Inside, it was even more magical. Soft pillows formed a nest in the center. Warm blankets were waiting, and in the corner, a tray with cookies and 3 cups of milk. You 3 are amazing, Patty whispered. We know, Sophie said, without any modesty. The 3 of them settled around Patty, each choosing a spot. Ava on the left side, Lila on the right, Sophie practically on her lap. Now Ava commanded, tell a story about Mom Claire. Patty took a deep breath. Which story do you want to hear? One we don't know, Lila asked. One from when we were little, Sophie added. Patty thought for a moment and smiled. All right, I'll tell you the story of when your mom saved me from a dog. A dog. Lila's eyes widened. A huge dog, the size of a horse, with teeth as big as my arm. That's an exaggeration, Sophie noted. It's a story. Stories can exaggerate. Fair. Continue. Patty told the story. The story became two. Two became three. The triplets laughed, asked questions, asked for more details. And Patty kept telling them because talking about Claire was like bringing her back for a few minutes. It was like hearing her laugh again. It was like feeling her presence there, in that blanket tent, surrounded by the daughters she never met but loved from the very first second. Mom Claire was brave, Ava concluded after the fifth story. The bravest person I ever knew. We take after her, Lila said with certainty. You definitely do. And she's watching us from heaven? Sophie asked, her voice small. Patty felt her eyes burn. Yes, she is. She's watching, and she's very proud of the three of you. Sophie snuggled deeper into Patty's lap. And that was when the curtain of the tent opened. Leonard Westfield was crouched at the entrance, his face lit by the Christmas lights. Dad! The triplets shouted in unison. What's going on here? Camping, Lila explained, with stories about Mom Claire. And cookies, Sophie added, lifting a half-eaten cookie as proof. Leonard looked at Patty. Patty felt her face warm. They couldn't sleep, so we built a tent. I'm sorry, I should have asked permission to use the sheets. And, can I come in? Patty blinked. What, can I come into the tent? The triplets exchanged looks. That look, the plan in motion look. You can, Ava said way too fast, but there's only space there. She pointed to the only empty spot, right next to Patty. Leonard entered, having to twist himself to fit. He sat in the space they pointed to. It was tiny. His shoulder touched Patty's shoulder. There was no way not to touch. The tent was far too small for 5 people. Sorry, Patty murmured, trying to move away. It's all right, Leonard said. I'm the one who invaded the campsite. Dad never came to a campsite before, Lila observed. No one ever invited me before. We're inviting you now, Sophie declared. Then I accept. The silence that followed was strange. Not a bad strange. A full strange. Ava broke the moment. Dad, Patty was telling stories about Mom Claire. Leonard looked at Patty. You knew their biological mother. It wasn't a question. I did. She was my best friend. I saw it on the camera videos, you talking to her picture, but I never heard the stories. Do you want to hear them? Leonard looked at his daughters, then at Patty, and nodded. Patty took a deep breath and began to tell them. Not the funny stories she had told the girls. Deeper stories. About how Claire dreamed of becoming a mother. About how she sang to her belly during the pregnancy, even on the hardest days. About how she chose each name. Ava, because it meant life. Lila, because it meant night, she was born at dawn. And Sophie, because it meant wisdom. Because someone in this family needs to have sense, Claire had joked. About how, in her final moments, Claire asked for only one thing. Make them happy, Patty. That's all I want. When Patty finished, the triplets were asleep. Sophie in her lap, Lila leaning against her arm, Ava holding her hand, and Leonard was silent, his eyes fixed on some distant point. I never knew these things, he said at last. About the names, about her dreams. She wanted them to have everything she didn't have, and you're giving that to them. Patty shook her head. You are. You adopted them. You gave them a home, a family, safety. I'm just trying to keep the promise I made. Leonard turned to look at her. In the soft Christmas light glow, his eyes looked different, softer, more human. You're the best thing that ever happened in this house, he said, his voice low. And it's not just because of the girls. Patty felt her heart stop. Leonard? I know this is complicated. I know you're the girls' tutor. I know there's a whole professional dynamic. But I needed to say it. He looked at the triplets sleeping. They love you. He looked back at Patty. And I'm starting to understand why. Patty didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. So she did the only thing she could. She rested her head on his shoulder. And stayed there. In silence. Inside the sheet fort, with 3 sleeping girls around them, and a heart that, for the first time in a long while, felt whole. Outside, the night was quiet, but somewhere in the city, Miranda Holloway was awake, looking at her phone, reading a message, confirmed. The interview will air in 3 days. Get ready to tell your side of the story. Miranda smiled, a cold smile, the smile of someone who had not given up. Enjoy this peace while it lasts, Patty, she whispered into the darkness. Because the storm is coming. The storm took 5 days to arrive, 5 days of peace, 5 days of breakfast with the triplets, quiet evenings, and Leonard smiling more than Patty had ever seen. 5 days where she almost forgot Miranda existed. Almost. Patty woke up to her phone screaming. Not ringing, screaming. She felt around the nightstand, knocked over a glass of water, almost knocked down Claire's picture frame, and finally found the phone. 17 notifications, 32 messages, 6 missed calls. What in the... She opened the first message. It was from Margaret. Turn on the TV, channel 7, now. Patty's stomach dropped. She ran to the living room, tripping over her own slipper, almost hitting the doorframe, and finally found the remote, which was on top of the TV, of course. "Why are you never where I leave you?" she muttered to the remote while pressing random buttons. The TV turned on the wrong channel, then another wrong channel, then a blender commercial. "No, channel 7. 7. She pressed more buttons. Why does this TV have 80,000 buttons? Finally, channel 7 appeared, and Miranda Holloway's face filled the screen. Miranda sat in a TV studio, perfect as always. Red dress, flawless hair, tears in her eyes, fake, obviously, but convincing for anyone who didn't know her. The host, a blonde woman with the expression of a shark sensing blood, leaned forward. "So, Miranda, you're saying you were kicked out of your boyfriend's house because of a housekeeper? Former housekeeper." Miranda corrected, her voice trembling with fake emotion. She was promoted to tutor for his daughters. But the truth is she planned this from the start. Planned how? Miranda sighed dramatically. Patricia Blake knew the children's biological mother. They were very close friends. When she found out Leonard had adopted the triplets, she infiltrated the house as an employee. She spent months gaining the children's trust, manipulating everything, until she managed to push me out. That's a serious accusation. I have proof. Miranda looked directly into the camera. Leonard Westfield is a good man, a devoted father, but he was manipulated by an opportunistic woman who used innocent children as pieces in a chess game. The host turned to the camera. "We reached out to Mr. Westfield for comment, but so far we have not received a response." The story continues after the break. Patty turned off the TV. Her hands were shaking so much she almost dropped the remote. No, 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 no. She went to the window and saw news vans parked outside the gate, cameras pointing at the mansion, reporters speaking into microphones. The storm had arrived. "Patty," Leonard's voice came from the hallway. He walked into the living room seconds later, still in pajamas, hair messy, phone in hand. "Did you see it?" "I did. How much?" "Enough." Patty turned to him, eyes filling with tears. "Leonard, I need to leave." "What?" "Look outside." She pointed to the window. "There are reporters everywhere. Miranda is on TV saying I'm some kind of schemer. This will destroy your reputation. It will affect your companies. It will." "And the girls? How will this affect them?" "They'll go to school and everyone will talk about it. They'll ask about the scheming housekeeper who Patty. I shouldn't have agreed to stay. I should have stayed just the housekeeper. Then none of this." She stopped. Leonard stepped closer, held her shoulders. "You're not going anywhere." "But, did you hear what I said last night?" Patty swallowed hard. You said I'm the best thing that has happened to this house. And do you think I'm going to let the best thing that has happened to this house walk away because of a TV interview? It's not just an interview. It's a scandal. She's a resentful woman trying to destroy something she could not have. Leonard looked at her. Miranda did not want this family. She wanted the money, the status, the easy life. When she realized she would not get it, she decided to burn everything. And the girls? The girls will be fine. Because they have you. They have me. They have a real family. Patty felt the tears running down her face. "I am ruining your life, Leonard." "No." He wiped a tear from her cheek with his thumb. "You are fixing it." "Dad? Patty?" Two voices came from the stairs. Leonard and Patty turned around. The triplets were standing in the middle of the stairs, wearing pajamas, their eyes wide open. And for the first time since Patty had met them, they looked scared. "There are people outside," Ava said, her voice small. "People with cameras." "Are they saying bad things about Patty?" Lila asked. Sophie said nothing. She just ran down the stairs and threw herself into Patty's arms. The other two followed. And suddenly, Patty was in the middle of a triple hug, 3 girls holding on to her as if they were afraid she might disappear. "I am not going anywhere." Patty whispered, holding them tight. I promise. Pinky promise? Lila sniffed. Patty looked at Leonard. He nodded. She held out her little finger. Pinky promise. 3 little fingers wrapped around hers. And for a moment, despite the chaos outside, everything felt right. The day was long. Lawyers calling, press advisors calling, reporters trying to get in, helicopters flying overhead. Leonard spent hours in the office, coordinating responses, preparing statements, trying to control the fire. Patty stayed with the triplets, keeping them away from windows, away from screens, away from anything that could scare them more. They watched movies, they drew pictures. They built another blanket fort, this time in their bedroom. And sometime in the afternoon, Ava had an idea. Patty, she said, with the tone Patty already recognized as something is being planned, can we use the tablet? For what? To play. Play what? A game. A children's game. Sophie and Lila exchanged looks. Patty narrowed her eyes. What kind of game? A game that will make everyone stop saying bad things about you. Patty sighed. Girls, I appreciate that, but there is no game that can fix this. There is, Sophie said, confident. We researched it. Researched? On the internet. When public opinion is against someone, the best defense is to humanize the victim, show the emotional side, create empathy. Patty blinked. You are 5 years old. So what? So that sounds like advanced public relations strategy. Sophie shrugged. The internet teaches a lot. Ava stepped forward. We want to record a video, us talking about you, about how you take care of us, about how Miranda really was. Girls, I don't know if... Please, Patty, Lila asked, her eyes bright. Let us help. You always help us. Now it's our turn. Patty looked at the 3 of them, at those determined faces, at those eyes that looked just like Claire's, and she could not say no. Okay, but I want to see it before posting anything. Deal, the 3 said at the same time, and they ran off with the tablet. Patty stood still with a strange feeling in her chest. Pride mixed with fear, love mixed with worry. Claire, she whispered to the air, your daughters are just like you. Too brave for their own good. An hour later, the triplets came back. It's ready, Ava announced, handing her the tablet. Patty pressed play. The video started with the 3 of them sitting inside the blanket fort, the Christmas lights blinking behind them. Ava spoke first. Hi, my name is Ava. These are my sisters, Lila and Sophie. We are 5 years old, and we want to talk about Patty. Lila continued. Patty is the nicest person in the world. Deed fact, she has taken care of us since we were little. She makes braids in our hair. She tells stories about our mommy Claire, who is in heaven. She sings for us when we have nightmares. She makes heart-shaped pancakes. She never yells at us. Ava again. Miranda yelled. Miranda called us brats. Miranda wanted to send us far away. Lila, Patty would never do that. Patty loves us for real. We know when someone loves us for real. Kids know, and we know Patty loves us. All 3 together. Leave Patty alone. She is part of our family. The video ended. Patty was crying. Is it good? Ava asked, worried. Did we do it right? Patty pulled the 3 of them into a hug. You did it perfectly. So we can post it? Patty hesitated. She looked toward the door. Leonard was standing there, watching. Yes, he said. Post it. Sophie pressed the publish button, and they waited. 30 minutes. 1,000 views. 1 hour. 10,000 views. 2 hours. 100,000 views. The comments started appearing. These children are the purest thing on the internet. If the girls themselves defend Patty, then Miranda is lying. Children don't know how to pretend. Look at their eyes. That is real love. Hack Team Patty. Protect the triplets. Miranda the liar. By 8 in the evening, the video had 1 million views. The narrative was changing. The storm was turning. And somewhere in the city, Miranda Holloway was watching her own downfall in real time. That night, Patty put the triplets to bed. You saved the day, she said, kissing each little forehead. Are we like superheroes? Lila asked, sleepy. You're exactly like superheroes. Good, Sophie murmured, almost asleep. Tomorrow we save the world. Tomorrow you rest. Resting is boring, Ava complained, but her eyes were already closing. Patty turned off the light. And at the bedroom door, she found Leonard waiting. Thank you, she said. For what? For letting them post. For not sending me away. For everything. Leonard stepped closer. Patty, I need to tell you something. What? My mother called. She saw Miranda's interview, and she saw the girl's video. And? Leonard smiled. She wants to give an interview too, tomorrow. Live. to tell the truth. Patty's eyes widened. Your mother? Helen Westfield, the family matriarch, the most respected woman in Boston's social circles. And she wants to defend me? She wants to defend the family. Leonard held her hand. And you are part of the family now. Patty didn't know what to say. So she did the only thing she could. She squeezed his hand back, and finally allowed hope to come in. Helen Westfield was the kind of woman who changed the air in a room when she entered. Patty noticed this the moment the matriarch walked through the mansion door that morning. Perfect gray hair, queen-like posture, blue eyes just like Leonard's, but sharper, like they had seen decades of lies and learned how to cut through each one. A navy suit that probably cost more than a car, and a smile that, surprisingly, was genuine. So you're Patty. It wasn't a question. Patty swallowed. Yes, ma'am, Patricia Blake. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Westfield, and I wanted to thank you for… Helen. What? Call me Helen. Mrs. Westfield makes me feel like I'm in court. She stepped closer and to Patty's complete shock, held her hands. My son told me everything. About you, about Claire, about the promises. Patty felt her eyes burn. I just wanted to protect the girls. I never wanted to cause trouble for anyone, I swear. And if you think I should leave, Dear. Helen squeezed her hands. I didn't come here to send you away. I came here to go to war for you. The interview was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon. Live. Channel 7. The same channel that had given Miranda a platform to spread her lies. Helen had demanded it. If the snake used that stage to attack, I'm going to use the same stage to destroy her. Words of the matriarch. Patty was terrified. She spent the whole morning walking back and forth, talking to objects. This is going to go wrong, she told the hallway plant. It's going to go very wrong. Helen is going to say something, the host is going to twist it, Miranda is going to appear out of nowhere like a movie villain, and… Patty? She spun around. Leonard was standing behind her, one eyebrow raised. Were you talking to the fern? No, maybe, a little. She rubbed her face. I'm losing it. I noticed. Your mother is going on live TV to defend a housekeeper she met 2 hours ago. This is madness. Former housekeeper. Leonard? He stepped closer. My mother knows what she's doing. She has faced worse situations. Corporate scandals, public relations crises, predatory journalists. This for her is breakfast. And if it doesn't work, it will work. But what if it doesn't? Leonard held her shoulders. Patty, look at me. She looked. No matter what happens in that interview, no matter what the media says, you are part of this family now, and family doesn't abandon family. Patty felt a tear escape. You keep saying things like that. What kind of things? Things that make my heart race and my head feel confused. Leonard smiled. Good to know the feeling is mutual. Before Patty could process what that meant, 3 dress-wearing hurricanes appeared in the hallway. Grandma is ready, Ava announced. She looks like a queen, Lila added. A queen who is going to destroy enemies, Sophie finished, with disturbing satisfaction. Leonard looked at Patty. Shall we watch together? She nodded, because at that point, there was nothing left to do but watch and pray. The Channel 7 studio was full. The host, the same blonde who had interviewed Miranda, looked a little less confident this time. Maybe because Helen Westfield had more money, influence, and lawyers than the entire network combined. We are live with Helen Westfield, matriarch of the Westfield family and mother of Leonard Westfield, the businessman involved in the scandal, taking over social media. The host turned to Helen. Mrs. Westfield, thank you for accepting our invitation. The pleasure is mine, Christine, Helen smiled. The kind of smile someone gives right before destroying another person with elegance. Although I should say that accepting the invitation is not quite accurate. I demanded this space. After all, you gave a platform to a woman who spread lies about my family. The least you can do is give space for the truth. The host swallowed hard. Well, that's exactly why you're here, to tell your side of the story. It's not my side. Helen corrected her. It's the truth. There is a difference. In the mansion's living room, Patty watched holding hands with the triplets. Leonard sat beside her, tense but confident. She's amazing, Patty whispered. She's my mother, Leonard replied, as if that explained everything. And in a way it did. Helen started from the beginning. 5 years ago, my son adopted 3 newborn babies. Triplets who had been left in a shelter. Their mother had passed away, and her name was Claire Davis. And she was the best friend of Patricia Blake. The host frowned. The same Patricia Blake that Miranda Holloway accuses of being an opportunistic infiltrator? The same, except Miranda Holloway is lying. Helen took a folder from her bag. I brought documents, letters, records, and videos my son recorded with the house's security cameras. Videos? Videos that show who was really mistreating those children, and it wasn't Patricia Blake. The host leaned forward. Can you show us? With pleasure. The next 15 minutes were devastating for Miranda. Helen showed everything. Videos of Miranda yelling at the triplets, audio of Miranda planning to get rid of the children, text messages where Miranda called the girls obstacles and dead weight, and, in contrast, videos of Patty singing to the girls late at night. Patty doing elaborate hairstyles, Patty hugging all three after nightmares, Patty whispering, "You are perfect. Never let anyone tell you otherwise." The host was in shock. The audience was in shock. Social media was exploding. Helen wasn't done. And there is one more thing. She took an envelope from the folder. A letter, written by Claire Davis before she died, left with Patricia Blake with specific instructions. A letter? Helen opened the envelope and read, "Patty, if you are reading this, it means I didn't make it, that my body couldn't handle it, that my girls will grow up without me. I have only one request. One single request. Take care of them. No matter how, no matter where, no matter what you have to do. Find them. Stay close to them. Make sure they are loved. You are the sister I never had. The only person I trust completely. Promise me, Patty. Promise me my daughters will be happy. With all my love, Claire." Patricia Blake spent 5 years honoring that promise. She worked as a cleaning woman in a mansion just to stay near those children. She never asked for anything in return. Never demanded recognition. She simply loved 3 girls as if they were her own. She looked directly into the camera. That is not opportunism. That is loyalty. That is love. And Miranda Holloway, wherever you are watching this, know that you tried to destroy the wrong person. In the mansion, Patty was crying. The triplets were hugging her. Leonard held her hand, and then Sophie's phone rang. "What?" Sophie answered, confused. "We didn't give this number to—" "Hello." Pause. Her eyes widened. "Dad, it's the TV. They want to talk to us live." Leonard took the phone, spoke quickly, hung up. "They want it." He looked at Patty. "The host wants to talk to the girls live, by video." "No." Patty shook her head. "They've already been exposed too much. I won't let—" "We want to." Ava interrupted. "It's our family too," Lila said. "We want to talk," Sophie confirmed. Patty looked at them, at those determined faces, at those eyes that belonged to Claire. And again, she couldn't say no. The video call connected. 3 little faces appeared on the national TV screen. The host smiled, a genuine smile this time. "Hello, girls, are you the Westfield triplets?" "Yes," Ava answered. "I'm Ava. This is Lila. This is Sophie. Did you see your grandmother's interview?" "We saw it," Lila said. "Grandma is the best." "And what would you like to say?" Sophie stepped forward. "We want to say that Patty is our family. She has taken care of us forever. She never yelled at us. She never called us mean names. She really loves us." Ava continued. "Miranda lied. She only liked Dad because of the money. We knew it. Kids always know." Lila added, "And we want everyone to stop talking bad about Patty, because if they do, we're going to get very upset." "And what happens when you get upset?" the host asked, amused. The 3 of them looked at each other, smiled. "Mischief," they said in unison. The host laughed. The whole country laughed. And at that moment, the war was over. 2 hours later, the numbers were clear. Helen's interview had been the most watched of the year. The triplets video had gone viral again. The hashtags Team Patty and Justice for Patty were at the top of the trending topics. And Miranda Holloway had deleted all her social media. The storm had passed. The sun was returning. That night, after the triplets finally fell asleep, exhausted from all the excitement, Patty went out to the garden. She needed air. She needed silence. She needed to process everything that had happened. She sat on the bench near the fountain, looking up at the stars. "Did you see that, Claire?" she whispered. "We did it. Your girls are safe. They're happy. They're loved." A soft breeze passed by, like an answer. "Patty?" She turned. Leonard was there, 2 cups of tea in his hands. "I thought you might need company. How did you know I was here? I always know where you are." He sat beside her and handed her a cup. "Parent habit. We develop a radar. Patty smiled. Thank you for the tea, for your mother, for everything. You've thanked me about 50 times today, and I'll thank you 50 more. They stayed quiet for a moment, looking at the sky. Then Leonard said, Patty, I need to ask you something. What? That night, in the blanket tent. When you leaned your head on my shoulder, Patty felt her face warm. What about it? Was it just comfort? Or was it something more? She didn't answer. She didn't know how to answer. Leonard turned to look at her, because for me it was something more. He set his cup on the ground. Patty, I spent the last 5 years focused only on my daughters. I thought I didn't have room for anything else, that I didn't need anything else. And now? Now I see I was wrong. He took her hand. I don't know exactly what this is. I don't know the name yet. But I know that when you're close, the house feels lighter. I know that when you smile, I want to make you smile again. And I know that when you talked about leaving, it felt like someone had taken a piece of me. Patty felt tears return. Leonard, don't finish that sentence. He squeezed her hand. You're not just anything. You're extraordinary. And I want to find out what that means. For both of us. And the girls? The girls already love you more than anyone in the world. And your mother? My mother told me before she left that if I didn't do something soon, she would do it herself. Patty laughed through her tears. She said that? Exact words. Leonard, stop being foolish and tell that woman how you feel before I lose my patience. Patty looked at him, at those blue eyes, at that face that, somewhere in the last few months, had become the most important face in the world to her. I don't know the name either, she finally said. But I know I want to find out. With you. Leonard smiled, and under the stars in the garden of the mansion that had become home, they stayed there, holding hands, discovering together. 2 weeks had passed since Helen's interview. 2 weeks of peace. 2 weeks of normal life. 2 weeks in which Patty discovered it was possible to wake up without expecting disasters. This is strange, she said to the mirror while brushing her teeth. Constant happiness is strange. I'm waiting for something to explode. The mirror didn't answer, but her reflection looked different, lighter, brighter. Maybe nothing is going to explode, she continued, spitting out the toothpaste. Maybe life can just be good. No drama, no villain, no TV cameras. Patty, Lila's voice came from the hallway. The coffee is getting cold. I'm coming. She rinsed her mouth, fixed her hair, which was still impossible to tame, and went downstairs. In the kitchen, the scene was organized chaos. Leonard making pancakes, or trying. Ava reading a book far too thick for a 5-year-old. Lila dancing with the salt shaker. Sophie taking apart the oven timer. Sophie, Patty ran to her. What are you doing? Improving it. Improving how? It beeped at the wrong time. Now it'll beep at the right time. You know how to fix an oven timer? Sophie shrugged. The internet teaches. Patty looked at Leonard, who was in a battle with a pancake stuck to the skillet. Your 5-year-old daughter hacked the oven. I know. He poked the pancake with the spatula. She also reprogrammed the thermostat last week. Now the whole house stays exactly at 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Is that worrying or impressive? Yes, Patty laughed, and she realized right then that this was happiness. Chaos, burned pancakes, impossible children. And a man who looked at her as if she were the most important person in the room. Later that morning, the triplets held an emergency meeting. Location, the sheet fort. Participants, Ava, Lila, Sophie, and 3 dolls as witnesses. Agenda, Operation Wedding. Here's the situation. Ava began, serious as a miniature CEO. Dad and Patty have been dating for 2 weeks. Dating? Lila asked, like with kissing? We saw them holding hands, Sophie reported. And Dad smiles like a silly person when she's around. That's love, Lila declared, dramatic. I saw it in a movie. The problem, Ava continued, is that they're moving too slowly. 2 weeks and still not married. Adults are slow, Sophie agreed. That's why we need to speed things up. How? Lila tilted her head. Ava smiled, a smile that meant she had a plan. We're going to make Dad ask Patty to marry him. And how do we do that? Simple. Ava grabbed a sheet of paper and a crayon. We plant the idea in his head. Make him think it was his idea, and then help him prepare everything. Sophie frowned. That sounds like manipulation. It's not manipulation, it's romantic strategy. What's the difference? The difference is that we want them to be happy, and they will be happy. So it's good strategy. Lila clapped. I like good strategy. Then it's decided. Ava drew a heart on the paper. Operation Wedding starts now. Phase 1. Plant the idea. Dinner that night. Leonard was cutting the chicken when Lila said casually, "Dad, are you going to marry Patty?" Leonard choked. Patty froze with her fork in the air. "What?" Leonard coughed. "Where did that come from?" "Nowhere." Lila shrugged. "Just asking." "We saw it in a movie," Sophie added. "When two people love each other, they get married. It's the rule." "It's not exactly a rule," Leonard tried. "It is," Ava said. "Grandma said that when someone finds the right person, they can't let them go. She said you almost let Patty go, and that you're kind of slow about these things." "My mother said that?" "Her exact words. Patty was as red as a tomato." "Girls, it's complicated. Adults don't just get married out of nowhere." "Why not?" Lila asked. Because you have to be sure. You have to know the person. You have to—" "We've known each other for almost a year," Sophie observed. "That's a long time. And Patty already lives here," Ava added. "She's already family. Marriage is just a formality." Leonard looked at Patty. Patty looked at Leonard. The triplets watched satisfied. The seed was planted. Phase 2. Prepare the ground. 3 days later, Leonard was in his office when Sophie walked in, carrying the tablet. "Dad, can I show you something?" "Of course, Princess. What is it?" Sophie sat on his lap and opened a photo folder. "These are photos of Patty with us. I organized them in chronological order." Leonard looked. The first photo, Patty on her first day of work in her housekeeper uniform, smiling shyly. The second, Patty braiding Lila's hair. The third, Patty asleep on the couch with all 3 girls in her arms, exhausted after a long day of play. Dozens of photos. Months of moments. A whole story told in images. "Why are you showing me this?" Leonard asked, his voice rough. Sophie looked at him with eyes far too serious for a 5-year-old. "Because I want you to remember. Everything she did for us. Everything she is." "I remember, Princess." "Then don't let her get away, okay?" Leonard hugged his daughter. "I won't." Phase 3. The final push. 5 days later, Ava found Leonard alone in the garden, looking at the sky. "What are you thinking about, Dad?" "Many things." "Patty?" "That too." Ava sat beside him. "You know, Dad, Mom Claire left a letter for Patty, asking her to take care of us." "I know. Grandma read it on TV. But you know what I think?" "What?" "I think Mom Claire also wanted Patty to be happy. Not just taking care of us. Really happy. With a real family." Leonard looked at his daughter. "When did you become so wise?" "I was always wise. You adults just take a long time to notice." Leonard laughed, then grew serious. "Ava, I need to tell you something." "What?" He took something out of his pocket, a velvet box. Ava's eyes widened. "Is that?" "I bought it 3 days ago, but I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know if she—" Ava jumped and hugged her father. "Dad, this is perfect." "You think so?" "I know so." She stepped back, her eyes shining. "And I know exactly how you're going to do it." "You do? Leave it to us." "Us? Me, Lila, and Sophie. We are going to prepare everything." Leonard hesitated. "I don't know if—" "Dad." Ava held his face with both little hands. "Trust us. We love you. We love Patty. And we want you two to be happy forever." "Forever is a long time." "I know. That's why it needs to start soon." Leonard looked in those eyes, Claire's eyes, and felt his heart overflow. "Okay, I trust you." Ava smiled. "You won't regret it." The day of the proposal. Patty knew something was going on. The triplets were strange all day, whispering, disappearing and reappearing, giggling every time she walked by. "You 3 are planning something," she said during lunch. "Nothing," Lila answered too fast. "Absolutely nothing," Sophie confirmed. "We don't even know what planning means," Ava added. Patty narrowed her eyes. "Sure." At 7 in the evening, Lila appeared in Patty's room. "We need you in the garden." "For what?" "Emergency." "What kind of emergency?" "A garden emergency." Patty sighed. "Does this have to do with the whispering today?" Lila made an innocent face. "What whispering?" Patty stood up. "Okay, let's see this emergency." The garden was transformed, candles everywhere, flowers, hundreds of them, forming a path, Christmas lights hanging from the trees, and in the center of it all Leonard, wearing a suit. More nervous than Patty had ever seen him. "Leonard?" she whispered. What is this?" "It's our plan." Lila shouted from behind a bush. "Lila!" Ava's voice came from another bush. "It was supposed to be a surprise." "Oops." Leonard laughed nervously. "Sorry for the setting," the girls insisted. Patty looked around, amazed. "It's beautiful." "You are beautiful." Leonard stepped closer. "Patty, I am not good with words. You're great with words, not when it truly matters. He held her hands. When you came into my life, I thought you were just an employee. Someone passing through, but you were never just someone. You were the missing piece, the heart this house needed. Patty felt the tears begin. Leonard, you saved my daughters when I didn't know they needed saving. You saved me when I didn't know I needed saving. He took a deep breath. And I know this is fast. I know it's crazy. I know we should wait longer, learn more, be more sure. But I am already sure. He knelt down. I've been sure for weeks. Maybe months. Maybe since the day I saw you covered in glitter with 3 children hanging on you and a smile on your face. Patty laughed through her tears. That was a very chaotic day. It was the best day. Leonard took a small box from his pocket. Patricia Blake, will you turn chaos into family? Will you be my wife? Before Patty could answer, 3 figures jumped out from behind the bushes, holding signs. Say yes, Ava's sign. We are begging, Lila's sign. Kiss already, Sophie's sign. Patty burst into laughter. You 3 are impossible. We know, they shouted together. Now answer. Patty looked at Leonard, at the ring, at the triplets, at the life that had built itself around her without her noticing. Yes, she said, 1,000 times yes. Leonard placed the ring on her finger, and then the triplets attacked. A triple hug that almost knocked them both over. Glitter flying from somewhere, Sophie had hidden some in her pockets to celebrate. Laughter, tears, and finally, the kiss. Soft, sweet, perfect. Yuck, Lila covered her eyes. Finally, Ava celebrated. Final stage complete. Sophie noted in a little notebook no one knew she had. Later, with the triplets asleep, exhausted from so much excitement, Patty and Leonard stayed in the garden. The ring was shining on her finger. The candles were still burning. I cannot believe this is real, Patty whispered. It's real. I'm going to wake up, and it will all be a dream. If it is a dream, we are dreaming together. Leonard kissed her forehead, and I plan to keep dreaming for a long time. Patty rested her head on his shoulder. Claire would love you. You think so? I'm sure. She always said I deserved someone who looked at me as if I were the most important thing in the world. You are, Patty smiled. And up above, among the stars, maybe Claire was smiling too. The weeks following the proposal were the most chaotic and happiest of Patty's life. Not because anything had gone wrong, but because when you mix a wedding, a mansion, a determined matriarch, and 3 5-year-olds with very strong opinions about absolutely everything, chaos is inevitable, and beautiful, and completely out of control. The first big battle was about the date. Helen wanted a wedding in 6 months. Enough time to organize something grand, worthy of the Westfield name. Leonard wanted something intimate, small, just family and close friends. Patty wanted not to panic, and the triplets wanted it to be tomorrow. Why do we have to wait? Lila complained during breakfast 1 week after the engagement. You already love each other. You already live together. A wedding is just the party. A wedding is not just the party, dear, Helen explained with the patience of someone who had already had this conversation before. It is planning, logistics, invitations, catering, decoration. That sounds boring, Sophie observed. It is necessary. Necessary is boring, Ava concluded. Patty hid her laugh behind her coffee cup. Leonard did not, and Helen, realizing she was outnumbered, sighed. How about a middle ground? 3 months. A wedding in the mansion garden, elegant but intimate. 100 guests at most. 50, Leonard countered. 75. 60. Settled at 70. Helen extended her hand. And I choose the catering. Leonard shook his mother's hand, and just like that, the date was set. 3 months, mansion garden, 70 guests, and a level of stress Patty still could not imagine. The weeks began to pass in a blur of decisions. Flowers, white roses, or peonies? The triplets wanted sunflowers because they were Claire's favorite. Patty cried when they suggested it. Sunflowers became the final choice. Music, live band, or DJ? Leonard preferred classical. Patty had no opinion. The triplets wanted dance music. The compromise was a string quartet for the ceremony and a DJ for the party. Invitations, formal or modern? Helen insisted on linen paper with gold lettering. The triplets insisted on adding glitter inside the envelopes. To match us, Ava explained. Helen resisted for exactly 3 days before giving in. The guests in Boston received elegant invitations that, when opened, released a small burst of golden glitter. Helen pretended not to approve. But Patty saw her smile. The dress was another story. 2 weeks after the engagement, Helen dragged Patty to an exclusive boutique in downtown Boston, the kind of place where Patty normally wouldn't even walk in to ask for the time. "I don't need an expensive dress," she whispered to Leonard the night before. "I can wear anything, a simple dress, white, from a regular store." "Patty, really? I don't care about those things. A dress is just a dress." "My mother cares. Your mother wants to put me in a dress that costs more than a car." "Probably." "Leonard." He laughed and kissed her forehead. "Let her do this. It's important to her. She never had a daughter, never had this experience, and she adores you." Patty sighed. "She adores me? She told me, and I quote, 'This woman is the best thing that has happened to this family since I married your father.'" "She said that?" "Her exact words." Patty felt her eyes burn. "All right, I'll go. But if the dress costs more than my salary for an entire year, I'm going to pretend I fainted so I don't have to choose." Leonard laughed. "Deal." The boutique was exactly what Patty feared. Everything white, everything shiny, everything intimidating, and the attendants looked at her as if they were evaluating an auctioned painting. "You must be the bride," one of them said, the professional smile too perfect. "What kind of dress are you looking for?" Patty opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Helen for help. "Something classic," Helen answered. "Elegant, timeless, but with personality. My daughter-in-law is not a porcelain doll. She is a real woman." The attendant nodded and disappeared. Patty turned to Helen. "Thank you." "For what?" "For defending me, for being here, for all of this." Helen held her hand. "Patricia, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone." "What is it?" "When Leonard started dating Miranda, I knew right away she was wrong. I felt it in my heart. But I said nothing because I thought it wasn't my place, that he needed to figure it out on his own." She squeezed Patty's hand. "When I saw you for the first time in the videos Leonard showed me, taking care of my granddaughters as if they were yours, I knew as well. I knew you were right. And this time, I was not going to stay silent." Patty felt a tear escape. "Helen, you are the daughter I never had." Helen wiped the tear from her face. "And I will make sure you have the wedding you deserve, even if I have to argue with every attendant in this store." Patty laughed through her tears. "I love you, you know that?" "I know," Helen smiled. "Now let's find a dress that will make my son cry with emotion." 3 hours and 17 dresses later, Patty found the one. It wasn't the most expensive. It wasn't the most elaborate. It was simple, elegant, with a delicate neckline and a train that flowed like water. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she didn't see the cleaning woman who had walked into that house almost a year earlier. She saw a bride. She saw a mother. She saw the woman Claire had always said she could be. "This one," she whispered. "It's this one." Helen appeared behind her in the mirror. Perfect. And in that moment, Patty finally started to believe all of it was real. Meanwhile, in the mansion, the triplets had their own missions. Mission number 1, the flower girl dresses. "We want pink," Lila declared during the planning meeting in their room. "I want lilac," Sophie disagreed. "Blue," Ava voted. Silence. "We can't agree on anything," Lila observed. "Maybe," Sophie thought for a moment, "maybe we don't have to agree." "What do you mean?" "We're triplets, but we're not the same. Half Patty always says that we have different personalities." Ava understood first. "You mean each one of us wears a different color?" "Exactly," Lila clapped. "That's genius." "I know," Sophie said without modesty. When they showed the idea to Patty that night, she loved it. "You three are the smartest kids in the world." "We know," they answered together. And so it was decided. Ava in pink, Lila in lilac, Sophie in blue. 3 colors, 3 personalities. 1 family. Mission number 2 was more delicate. The glitter. "We need glitter at the wedding," Ava argued with Leonard a week before the ceremony. "It's tradition." "Whose tradition?" "Ours." "You're 5. You can't have traditions at 5. "Yes, we can. We started the day Patty arrived." Ava crossed her arms. "Glitter is the symbol of our family." Leonard looked at his daughter, at those determined eyes, at that flawless logic, and he knew he had lost. "Where do you want the glitter?" The triplets looked at each other and smiled. "Everywhere." Leonard sighed. "Why did I even ask?" The last week before the wedding went by in a blur. Vendors coming and going, flowers being delivered, tents being assembled, and Patty, in the middle of it all, trying not to panic. On Thursday night, 2 days before the ceremony, she locked herself in her room and had a serious talk with the mirror. You're getting married. To a billionaire. In his mansion. With 70 people watching. She took a deep breath. This is real. This is happening. You're not going to wake up. It's not a dream. The mirror didn't answer, but the door knocked. Patty? It was Sophie's voice. Can we come in? Patty opened it. The three triplets were standing there in pajamas, holding something in their hands. What do you have there? Ava held out a box. We made a present for the wedding. Patty took the box and opened it. Inside were 3 small dolls, one with brown hair representing Patty, one with gray hair representing Leonard, and 3 tiny little girls, Ava, Lila, and Sophie. All made of fabric, hand-sewn, imperfect and absolutely perfect. Margaret taught us how to sew, Lila explained. We worked in secret for weeks. It's for you to remember, Sophie said, that no matter what happens at the wedding, we're already a family. Patty knelt and hugged all 3. You are my favorite gift, she whispered, of my entire life. The triplets hugged her tighter, and Patty knew in that moment that she was ready for the wedding, for the family, for the rest of her life. The night before the big day, the mansion finally became quiet. The vendors had left. The flowers were in place. The garden was transformed into a dream setting. Patty was at her bedroom window, looking at the stars, when Leonard appeared. Isn't it bad luck for the groom to see the bride before the wedding? Only if I see the dress, he replied, stopping beside her. And you're in pajamas. Very elegant pajamas. Extremely elegant. They stayed quiet for a moment, looking at the moonlit garden. Nervous? Leonard asked. Terrified. Me too. Patty turned to him, surprised. You? Terrified? You're the CEO of a billion-dollar company. You talk to presidents. Talking to presidents is easy, he held her hand. Marrying the woman I love in front of everyone is terrifying, Patty smiled. Then we're 2 terrified people. We're 2 terrified people who are going to be brave together. Together, she repeated. Leonard kissed her forehead. Tomorrow, you'll be my wife, and you'll be my husband. And the triplets will probably cause some kind of chaos. Patty laughed. Probably? Definitely. I wouldn't want it any other way. Leonard smiled. Neither would I. He pulled her into a hug. And there, on the eve of their wedding, with the garden waiting and the stars watching, they stayed quietly together. 2 terrified people, completely ready for the best chaos of their lives. The sun rose golden that Saturday morning. As if the universe knew something special was about to happen. Patty woke up at 6, unable to sleep any longer. She lay there staring at the ceiling, trying to process that in a few hours she would be married. Married. To Leonard Westfield. In the mansion she had first entered as a cleaning lady. Claire, she whispered into the empty room, if you have any influence up there, please make sure I don't trip on the dress. That's all I ask. The hours passed in a blur of makeup, hair, and nerves. Helen coordinated everything with military precision. Margaret helped wherever she could. And the triplets? The triplets were suspiciously quiet. They're planning something, Patty said to Helen while the makeup artist worked on her. Probably. You're not worried? Helen smiled. Dear, I've learned that when it comes to those 3, it's better to accept the chaos than to fight it. At 4 in the afternoon, the garden was full. 70 guests sitting in white chairs, sunflowers everywhere, a silent tribute to Claire, a simple altar covered with flowers, and Leonard in a dark suit, waiting. More nervous than he had ever been in his entire CEO life. Then the music started, and 3 girls appeared at the start of the aisle. Ava in pink, Lila in lilac, Sophie in blue, each carrying a small basket. The guests smiled, enchanted. The triplets walked slowly, serious as soldiers on a mission. And then they started tossing petals. Petals mixed with golden glitter. The whole garden began to sparkle. Leonard laughed. Helen shook her head but smiled, and the guests clapped, because how could they not clap for 3 girls turning a wedding into a fairy tale? Then Patty appeared, and the world stopped. The dress flowed like water around her. The bouquet of sunflowers trembled lightly in her hands. Her eyes were wet, but her smile was the biggest Leonard had ever seen. She walked slowly, 1 step at a time, not tripping, not falling, just walking toward the rest of her life. When she reached the altar, Leonard held her hands. You look beautiful, he whispered. You too, she whispered back. And I didn't fall. He laughed softly. I knew you wouldn't. The officiant started speaking, but Patty barely heard. She was too busy looking at Leonard, at the triplets in the first row, covered in glitter, smiling, at Helen, wiping away discreet tears, at the life that had formed around her. Then it was time for the vows. Leonard went first. Patty, I wrote an entire speech. I memorized every word. He took a paper from his pocket and put it back. But now, looking at you, I forgot everything. Soft laughter from the guests. So I'll say what I feel. He squeezed her hands. You walked into my house as a cleaning lady and became its heart. You took care of my daughters when no one else truly cared. You showed me that family isn't just blood, it's choice, it's love, it's being present. He took a deep breath. I promise to be present, every day, in the good and the bad, in the chaotic and the calm, until the end. Patty was crying. She couldn't stop. My turn? She asked, her voice breaking. Your turn. She wiped her face and laughed at herself. I wrote a speech too, and I also forgot. More laughter. Leonard, when I came to this house, I just wanted to keep a promise I made to my best friend before she died. I promised to care for her daughters, protect them, love them. She looked at the triplets. I didn't expect to fall in love with their father. I didn't expect to find an entire family. I didn't expect this. She looked back at Leonard. But here I am, and I promise I'll keep fulfilling promises. I promise to love you. I promise to love your daughters as if they were mine. I promise to turn every day into a messy Sunday. The triplets shouted, Messy Sunday! Everyone laughed. The officiant smiled and said the final words. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Leonard pulled Patty close and kissed her. A kiss that sealed promises, that honored the past, that celebrated the present, that promised the future. The guests applauded. The triplets ran over and threw themselves into the middle of the hug, and glitter flew everywhere, because of course it did. It was the Westfield family, after all. The reception was exactly what you'd expect from a wedding with 3 children in charge of the glitter. Chaotic, loud, sparkling, perfect. The garden at the Westfield mansion pulsed with music, laughter, and the golden shimmer that seemed to have spread over every surface. Guests danced, ate, toasted. Helen supervised everything with elegance, making sure nothing got out of control, or at least that the chaos looked intentional. The triplets were the stars of the night. Ava put together a choreographed dance they had secretly practiced for weeks. It was imperfect, uncoordinated, and absolutely adorable. Lila gave a dramatic speech on the microphone about true love defeating evil witches. Not a subtle reference to Miranda, which made Leonard choke on his champagne. Sophie hacked the sound system to play the triplets' favorite song at the exact moment Patty and Leonard cut the cake. Controlled chaos. A mess with purpose. Love in every detail. Around 10 that night, as the party began to slow down, Patty stepped away for a moment. She needed air. She needed silence. She needed 1 minute with Claire. She walked to the corner of the garden where they had planted a small patch of sunflowers, the triplets' idea, a secret wedding gift they had prepared with Margaret. Patty knelt among the flowers. Her wedding dress settled around her like a cloud. And she spoke. Hi, my friend. Silence. Only the distant sound of music and leaves rustling. I got married, Claire, to a man who loves your daughters as much as you would. To a man who looks at me as if I were the most important person in the world. She touched one of the flowers. Your girls are amazing. They're smart, brave, impossible. They're exactly like you. They have your smile, your eyes, your ability to turn any situation into an adventure. A tear rolled down her cheek. I kept my promise. They are happy. They are loved. They have a real family. She looked up at the sky. Thank you for making me promise. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for giving me the family I never knew I needed. A soft breeze passed, warm, gentle, like a hug. And Patty knew, deep in her heart, that Claire was listening. That Claire was happy. That Claire, wherever she was smiling. Patty? She turned. Leonard was there with the 3 triplets, one on each side and one hanging on his back. We were looking for you, Lila said. The party isn't the same without the bride, Ava added. And the DJ wants to know if he can play the glitter song, Sophie reported. Glitter song? Patty frowned. We invented it, Sophie explained. Every time it plays, we throw glitter in the air. Of course you did. Leonard walked closer, still carrying Sophie on his back. You okay? Patty looked at the sunflowers. then at him, then at the three girls who had changed her life. "Everything is perfect," she said. I was just talking." Leonard understood. He always understood. "She would be proud," he said softly. "I know." They went back to the party together, a family of 5, covered in glitter, radiant with happiness. The glitter song played 3 times before midnight, 3 golden explosions that turned the guests into shining statues. Helen pretended to be annoyed, but Patty caught her putting a handful of glitter in her purse. "A keepsake," she said when she got caught. When the last guest finally left and the mansion grew quiet, the new Westfield family gathered on the living room sofa. Patty still in her wedding dress, Leonard still in his suit, the triplets still in their colorful dresses, exhausted but refusing to sleep. "It was the best day of my life," Lila declared, her head in Patty's lap. "I agree," Ava murmured, almost asleep on Leonard's shoulder. "Mission complete," Sophie whispered, already with her eyes closed. Patty looked at Leonard over the tops of 3 little heads. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For everything. For the chance, for the family, for the chaos." Leonard smiled. "The chaos is the best part." "It is? It's what lets us know we're alive." Patty rested her head on his shoulder, carefully so she wouldn't wake the girls. "Leonard?" "Yes? Tomorrow is Sunday," he laughed quietly. "Yes, it is. And you know what that means?" The triplets, apparently not as asleep as they looked, answered in unison. "Official messy Sunday." Patty and Leonard laughed. And there, in that glitter-covered room, with 3 impossible children, an unexpected love, and a promise fulfilled, Patty finally understood. Family is not where you are born. It's where you choose to stay. It's who chooses to stay with you. It's the chaos you welcome with open arms. She looked out the window at the stars and whispered, so softly only she could hear, "Promise kept, Claire, now and forever." A soft breeze came through the window, like a goodbye kiss, like a quiet thank you, like a happy ending that was really just the beginning. And so, in the Westfield mansion, every Sunday became a day for making a mess. Glitter became tradition, and a housekeeper who only wanted to keep a promise found something she never knew she was searching for: a home, a love, and 3 little troublemakers who turned her life into an endless adventure. Because in the end, the best fairy tales aren't about princes and princesses. They're about promises kept, about love that chooses to stay, and about messy Sundays that last forever. So what did you think about the triplets' courage in standing up for Patty until the end? Leave your opinion in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to receive more emotional stories like this one. See you next time.